Dropping in through the center of the mind and into the heart space, into the masculine ranges. This covenant of light, okay, this coveted light range, this it's like these golden amber tones here. A lot of denseness, some darkness here, sadness, grief. There's an awareness through the feminine energy of being trapped, being shut out, having to pull back into this kind of hidden cavernous place. Okay, so where the mind is actually not receiving the light, and it's not being embodied here, and because there's a bit of separation, there's this feeling of, I know this to be true, and yet not actually experiencing this through the body in a physical, visceral way. Still pulled back here. So let's start to bring light into this arrangement here. It's as if being, it starts to feel a bit like a cave, but withdrawn, withdrawn into the space here. So let's start to surround the energy fields with light. Yeah, this is really being affected. It's the front of the mind, this perception, this third eye. It's almost as if this is the range through the masculine channel, that's being manipulated through the mental ranges, this toxicity, but it's causing this skew based off of these empathic tendencies. So the places where, it affects into our heart, it uses the integrity of the heart and skews this, because these are the empathic tendencies are, we could even say, kind of markers in the field or character traits that are targeted by dark energies. And even beyond that, to kind of drop out of these old ways of thinking and being, we can say, well, they are places where we are vulnerable because it preys on our integrity, our desire to make sure, first and foremost, that we are not in the wrong place. This ability to be introspective is actually where the issue lies here, because once we start to look internal, there is this kind of trapdoor through the shame that comes in. And none of this is natural to the field. It's just what has been set up here in these societal realms, in this earth realm. These ways of thinking and being become traps. Okay, so let's come in. There's like almost like a cage around the top of the crown here, actually affecting into the will center. These are all the places where we feel that perhaps the way that we're living is not right. This is unfair. This is not the way life is supposed to be. And yet then we come in to question ourselves, such as, who are we to think we have the opportunity to live a better or different life? Like, this is where the will center gets targeted. And again, I say targeting, but it's not as if it's like an energy that is specifically coming in and doing this. It's the natural flow of the distortion here already. Like, it's already been set up. It's a mass way of thinking, mass consciousness, that really we take it more to heart because of these empathic tendencies. All in the masculine ranges here. Let's come into the solar plexus, into the front of the throat, and into the crown of the feminine range here. It's like this lockdown, this, I want to say this biting down, this clamping down through the mind, through the crown, Don't you dare dream differently. Don't you dare think outside this box. Who are you to be free, but who are we not to be? Good. That shackle on the left ankle here and into the left hip. Wow. Wow. This pressure through the feminine heart range, which comes across through the human as intense fear and a fear of almost kind of disappearing or just being totally destroyed. Okay. Good. So bringing source light here into the feminine heart range. Right. So this fear of stepping out through your light capacity. So however you want to translate this, as if this is your mission work, this full expression of your creativity. It feels like fear, but that's not where this starts. It's not just a random fear or irrational fear. It's specifically coming through the crown. Creating this anxiety, this agitation, so that almost through the body, we can't even trace it back because it's such a huge response through the body. It's so confusing where this is actually coming from. This fear and panic. Okay. So bringing source light into the heart range here. Let's continue to come into the crown. And let's open through the horizontals to start to dismantle this. It's like prison bars through the top of the mind here. Okay, and affecting into the right side of the base of the brain. So this is more of this, I would just call it the Dark Mother architecture. Through the field. Which really, when we're calling that out, it's the distorted feminine energy here within the earth realm. It was not created here, it was brought here, but it's become this prison system here, through the human experience, through which all distortion plays out. So not surprising, we're still seeing the unfolding of all of this. But this particular range really affects one's ability to step forward in one's own truth and belief, as if we're constantly scanning into the external reality. Okay, how are people going to perceive this? How is this going to look? How is this going to come out? So it actually almost feels like it's infiltrating the field, but it is really stopping the light being from moving forward. This kind of constant gauging of what the external perception will be. How will this be received? And the problem with that is that there's no figuring that out through the mind because the world is in such a state of disarray and distortion anyway. We're never going to get this internal range to find a middle ground with that. And so we need to understand we just have to drop this because we're here to be different. We're here to bring in new energies. We're here to do different things that are not going to match. They're not going to resonate. They're not going to find a home within this distortion. And it's not going to be accepted by the distortion. So this is where the being has to understand itself as different, as being on a different scope or level. Good. So good relief coming in through the heart here. It's as if the field is constantly trying to resolve something, and we're bringing this in here to say, well, there will be no resolve in this sector. So we need to just stop this and understand the hashoshi by virtue of bringing in different energy. There will be no place for this. We're creating a new reality, which will be above, different, beyond. There is no place for it to fit. And that is perfect. We would not want it to fit into this reality, into this distortion. And yet, it can exist here. Good. So the whole body field, the physiology is starting to shift here. Good. Good, let's just come into this left shin, into the bone density, the shackle. These remnants of Dark Mother hanging on, clinging to the fields. The fragile narcissistic tones here, the crying, the shame-inducing tactics from external energies, that pull on our heart, that prey on our sensitivity. Good. Opening through the vertical channels here to start to bring in source light into all of these ranges now. Good. The external influence into the field. Let's start to bring the light in here and through the solar plexus so that this is released out. So a large part of this is this fear of standing out, right? So as we move in to our true light expression, we're trying to figure out how we can bring this into the world. Where will it fit? It's not supposed to fit in, and you will stand out as a result of it. So let's also come here. The sphere of shining, showing through, expressing, being seen, being heard, and all the distorted ramifications as a result of that from the past, making oneself vulnerable and then being subjected to the distortion in such a way that the energies manifest as bullying or being picked on or being targeted or whatever it may have been here. Through the masculine ranges. Okay, good. Okay, so where the field is at odds with itself as a result. Opening through the vertical channels again and into the left hip. Good. Let's open through the entire heart range here, through the horizontals. Coming in to soothe and calm with the Divine Mother tones. And clearing through the core. Good. Start to bring in the light to reset the field, to release out of these learned responses, learned tendencies of self-protection, self-preservation. Good. Releasing, loosening the shashi through the hips here. Good. Continuing to clear through the sacral ranges. Tashashi shataki. Jono koro o shashi shataki. Good. Self-love. This mastery though. Love of one's own expression, one's own light. First and foremost. This is not this manipulated self-love in the form of physical care. This is truly loving, understanding, knowing, communing with one's own light through the heart center. You cannot fake this kind of love here, but it must be fully experienced before it can be completely embodied and expressed as such. Good. Really good attunement here. Okay, so just continuing to anchor the light through the field fully and completely. Being present, being held, being witnessed. As it is so.